Hump Day. Good morning and welcome the Patriot Radio News Hour live on this Wednesday, the very first day of November. I hope it finds you well. The November weather finally here in the Valley of the Sun. You're going to see people out in long pants and sweatshirts and jackets. Hey, maybe even a turtleneck or two. It's only going to be in the 80s. Down into the 70s and the 60s. Absolutely gorgeous time to be living right here in the Valley of the Sun, so I'll brag about it. It's been a really, really long summer. So happy to see it. Matter of fact, my son's got a playoff football game Friday, and for the first time this year, I'm not sure if I'm going to have the long pants or the long sleeves. Who knows? Maybe both. But for the first time, it's not really football weather, but we'll pretend that it is. Enough on the weather. Our toll-free number, 800-951-0592. The website. Listen, I don't want to brag about it because there's really no point. No one's better. No one does it better than we do. Our website, when you talk about the standard, that's it. If you really want to be educated about what really is happening, that's where you go. At least from a financial perspective. We try to stay in our lane, and we try to do what we're best at. Sometimes, you got to bleed over, right? You got to politics, you got to get into that. Obviously, another terrorist attack, this time in New York City, we shouldn't be surprised. And you got to talk about those things, but the website at allamericangold.com, make it part of your daily routine. You can do everything you want. You can shop there. We got people doing it all the time. People just place orders. Don't ever have to talk to us. I mean, Arlene's here, and she's been like the nicest person ever. So, and just so you know, if you've never, ever done business with us, we are not like everybody else. I take pride in that. We don't, there's no free reports here. Okay, because people that advertise for free reports, they just want your name and your phone number so they can harass you to death. Right? Our free report, we give you a free report 5 days a week, Monday through Friday. When you go out to allamericangold.com, there's your free report. Right? When you call us, if you decide to call us, right? We don't play games with you. We don't bait and switch you. We don't try to talk you into, rare foreign gold, rare gold, highly, gold coins that are worth, retailing for $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, and $10,000. Don't do any of that stuff. Really, our whole existence is to have you buy what we believe is the right type of U.S. minted material at the best prices possible. That's it. We don't take your phone number. Matter of fact, the only time we take your phone number, a lot of times when you first start doing business with us, you do like us to call you to tell, hey, we're shipping today, or here's your tracking number, or whatever it may be. But other than that, we don't use it for anything other than that. We're not going to be calling you at dinner time or doing anything like that. You're not going to have to, feel like you need to take a shower. We're not going to pressure you either. If you just really want to call to ask questions, great. You just call us at 800-951-0592. And like I said, if you don't like calling, you can now go to our website, go to our shopping cart, go to order right point and click your way through and never have to talk to us. Either way, we appreciate the support and the business. That's how we put this show on every single day, day in, day out, month in, month out, year in, year out, is when you guys do business with us. So we appreciate all of that. Where are we going today? Got everything. Everything's caught up. So today we had 3 straight days of shipping. Today is the last day. There's 4 or 5 people left, and then we are everything's current and up to speed. So if you've been waiting on an order, you've either already got it, or it's in the mail, right? The check's in the mail. So make sure that you keep an eye out for it, because we ship everything registered, insured, U.S. mail. By the way, never when you order from us is it left at your door or left in your mailbox. That does not happen. You do have to sign for it. If you're not, a lot of you, hey, I got to work. Joe, in order to call the number, I got to actually work, right? I got to be able to pay for it. They'll leave you a slip in your mailbox, and you just take that slip at your convenience and take it to your post office, and you can pick it up there. They'll leave it at the post office for about 3 weeks. If you don't show up, they end up sending it back to me. That's actually happened a couple of times where the customer's like, I know Joe's going to send it, and then the box comes back, and I got to call him. Hey, and every once in a while, the postman does forget. Usually what happens is your regular guy's on vacation and some substitutes in to leave you a slip, or it got stuck in with some other mail and it got thrown in the trash. But you always get your product. If you're ordering large quantities of silver, like cases of Silver Eagle, something that's really heavy, those go ground UPS. Signature required. So even UPS won't leave it at your door. Anyway, just a little how about how we do business. When we get back, we got a lot of ground to cover. $800-951-0592. Gold's up $7, $1,277.60. Silver, big day today, up 43 cents. I'm going to tell you, when I tell you I really love silver, that's when you want to buy it, right? Remember, what was it, 3 or 4 shows ago? I'm like, man, I say it all the time, I'm not a huge silver guy, but when it gets, anytime, especially now, when it's below $17, you just got to buy it. Right? I mean, you just do. I mean, it's incredible where when you look at what's happening in not only just here, right? And that's really kind of hard. We live in this global world now, and of course, a lot of us wanted to kind of turn back the clock, right? Break up these mega corporations, go back and put in a lot of the Glass-Steagall acts that were put in, or I guess removed from law in the late 90s, that allowed for all of these huge mega corporations. Really started in the 80s and finally got it completely repealed, and now we're right back where we started, right? We've got even a terrorist attack, right? The Wall Street bubble, at least for right now, continuing to click along. But when you look at the risk, and really, when you talk about why it is that you take the time to put away gold and you put away silver, it's really simple, right? And you're taking a part of your wealth, however big or small that may be, and you're saying, this is my hedge against the risk that I know is dangerous. And I'm not talking about a terrorist attack or a nuclear attack or war or some cataclysmic event, which, by the way, it's probably nice to have for those as well, right? That's, I guess, a bonus, if you look at it. But we all know you can't go $1 trillion and $2 trillion in debt every single year. Right? You can't have these interest rates, even now at 1%. And, heaven forbid they go all the way to 2%. Ooh, right? We all know that's not a good thing. That's not a position of strength. That's a position of weakness, right? And why did they do it? And the answer really was simple. Just like in the 30s, and why they, there's a reason why they put the Glass-Steagall Act. And for those of you that don't know what the Glass-Steagall Act is when we crashed in 29, these central bankers and these elected officials that were put in, were selected by the elite. They wanted to prevent any company that dealt in financial stuff to ever be so big that they posed a risk to the rest of them, and really to the system. And the system that we're talking about is the debt system. Because really when you talk about fractional banking, okay, that's really what you're talking about. And they didn't want any one company to be able to essentially take down the rest and take it all down with them and wipe it out and cause another Great Depression. And of course, they promised us that they built a better mousetrap, right? And they decided in 1971 to go full fiat, and they had built this better mousetrap, and they started piling on debt the whole time, telling us, don't worry, it's going to be okay. It's not that much debt. Right? Remember those? When the debt hit $1 trillion in 1981, it's not that much debt. GDP is like $5 trillion or $4 trillion. I don't know the exact number. I didn't look it up. Then it got to $5 trillion by the 90s, right? And they were telling us, oh, hey, listen, don't worry, because, GDP is like 11 or 12 trillion, and we're going to have this debt thing paid off by 2010. Now we're in fiscal year 2018. We just missed racking up $250 billion of debt in a single month. And I think about the $250 billion. You know what? We didn't even rack up. I don't know if matter of fact, I'm almost positive. That's more debt in a month than the amount of debt the whole country went into during World War II, which, by the way, at the time was the largest expansion of debt the United States had ever seen. And the debt, even after World War II, it was still only somewhere in the ballpark of $300 billion total. And I think the exact number, believe it or not, I think it's about 257. I think was the exact number, $257 billion after World War II was over. Now we have a debt, in the 20 plus trillion. We have entitlement programs that essentially seal our fate. The deficit's going to be somewhere, I guess if you take Goldman Sachs says $35 trillion. I actually think Goldman's a little light. I'm calling for $40 trillion over the next 9 years now. And the risk that all of us are exposed to. Remember the risk that they fixed? Remember how they fixed too big to fail. Okay, they didn't do what we did after the Great Depression. They didn't do that. They could have, right? They could have said, you know what? We need to break you guys back up again because we said we built the better mousetrap, but we really didn't. Instead, they decided, you know what? We're just going to put everybody at greater risk. They took interest rates to zero. Debt in the world, you still have trillions and trillions of dollars of debt trading at negative interest rates, which was essentially a default. Okay, we borrowed $1 and we're going to give you 98 cents back, right? What is that? Right? I mean, you buy a bond, right? You get the bond plus the interest, right? They're supposed to give you a little bit. And now they're trying to claim victory and all of the victories, they're hollow victories. And yes, Wall Street's rallied because they've created such loose monetary policy. They're going to go this way until it what? Crashes. And so you buy gold and you buy silver as a hedge, right, as a counter risk. I'm not telling you, listen, you want to buy Bitcoin, go ahead. I wouldn't, but that's just me. I don't like risky things. It's one of those things where you go to Vegas, right? It's the same thing. I'm going to play blackjack, or I'm going to play roulette. I'm going to, maybe I'll win. Most likely I'm going to lose, but you understand what it is. Gold and silver, that's the money you don't want to risk. Right? Hey, I'm going to set this aside because when it goes bust, I've got something that isn't in the system. And when they go bust, and this is the problem, when they go bust now, they're coming after you. Right? Because they the first time around, what did they do? They didn't break up the banks. Instead, they bailed them out. They expanded their balance sheets. I don't even know if you added up all the central banks. I know we're over $10 trillion, where they pretended to buy this debt. This great Wall Street rally is all part of that. Right? Trying to pretend that there's no risk, even though the risk has gotten vastly greater. And you need to understand what's going to happen, and this is why you listen right here. Because, gold's up 7 days. I don't care. You shouldn't care. You should be thankful that, hey, I still got more time. And I mean that. I sincerely mean that. And they want you to be distracted. Hey, forget about the debt. Let's not talk about it. Let's try to get rid of the debt ceiling, right? They're getting ready. Bitcoin, have you ever asked yourself, why is Bitcoin doing so well? Right? They want to give legitimacy to the electronic currency because that's what they're going to use to replace. Right? We never knew. We didn't know. Right? We always thought, well, it's going to be the Amero. Remember the Amero? That made sense at the time. But then, the debt was only $5 trillion then. That was in the 90s. Now it's over 20. You're like, wait, the Amero, that's not big enough. Right? You remember how the EU, they do it all the time now. They all talk about, well, the euro's not going to be around much longer. And they're right. What they don't tell you is, by the way, neither is the Federal Reserve note. Right? They leave that part out. It's just not big enough. And then, today, we're supposed to be talking about the tax cuts today. We're not. They're delaying it, for a day. It's supposed to come out tomorrow now, which just really means they don't have the votes yet. So and what that means is, okay, wait a minute. That's way too much debt. Somebody's trying to say, okay, we need to have a little more money somewhere. I'm told there's the fight is over not allowing or allowing for you to write off the taxes you pay to the state as the holding issue. I don't know. None of us really know. We'll have to wait to see what's in the bill after. Maybe that comes tomorrow. The bigger news is tomorrow is also supposed to be the announcement of Jerome Powell as the new head of the Federal Reserve. And this is really kind of the pivot point why we're seeing gold bounce back now. So it's kind of seems like this is it. That's going to be the choice. I've been hearing that the Federal Reserve governors, they're having a meeting, that they're going to be very dovish and not do anything with rates and leave it for Powell. In other words, remember, everyone's talking about this December thing. I don't know, but that at least is what the rumor is, that all of the governors are worried about the lack of wage inflation. And now, remember, yesterday we talked about what was really important in the data. It wasn't what they claimed consumer spending was. The real important number in the equation is real disposable income, and there's just a problem. There isn't any. And so when you put all of those things together and you kind of understand what it is and why it is that you're putting some of that wealth away, this is why. They didn't build a better mousetrap. They didn't fix too big to fail. They didn't break them up. They didn't go back and say, you know what, we were wrong. Let's shrink these things down. Instead, they went the other way. They doubled down. Right? They've doubled our risk. Patriot Radio News Hour. We'll be back right after the break.
This is the Phyllis Schlafly Report from Phyllis Schlafly Eagles. Mrs. Schlafly was a courageous and articulate voice for traditional values and common sense for more than 70 years. Now, from the Phyllis Schlafly Center Studios, here's Ryan Haidt.
On the 525th anniversary of the European discovery of America, New York's 90-foot-tall monument in Columbus Circle escaped damage, but only because the NYPD maintained a 24-hour honor guard the entire holiday weekend. Police protection was needed because the violent left-wing movement known as Antifa had announced a nationwide campaign to deface Columbus Day. Statues left unguarded were not so fortunate. Around the nation in recent weeks, statues of Columbus have been toppled, splattered with paint, or otherwise vandalized. In Los Angeles, a Columbus statue was shrouded in a white sheet, ostensibly for its own protection, after the LA City Council voted to rename the paid holiday as Indigenous Peoples Day. The mayor of New York City had let it be known that the monument in Columbus Circle was at risk. He has appointed a commission to review the political correctness of hundreds of monuments, plaques, and statues throughout the city. Americans were already celebrating Columbus on the 300th anniversary of this discovery in 1792, when a Columbus monument was erected in Baltimore. Despite the lack of Italian or Spanish people in the original 13 colonies, the English settlers recognized that Columbus's discovery of the New World was the event that made America possible. Our nation's capital is the city of Washington in the District of Columbia, honoring the two men who made our country, and Columbus's name is reflected in many other places. For much of the 19th century, the word Columbia was often used as an alternative to America. As President Trump said in proclaiming the federal holiday, Columbus's voyages undeniably and fundamentally changed the course of human history and set the stage for the development of our great nation. On Columbus Day, Trump declared, we honor the skilled navigator and man of faith for his courageous feat, even in the face of extreme doubt and tremendous adversity. What a welcome difference from the apologetic tone of Obama's proclamation 1 year earlier, which omitted any praise of Columbus or recognition of his greatness.
This has been the Phyllis Schlafly Report from Phyllis Schlafly Eagles. Whether it's the vision of our founding fathers, the courage of our veterans, the moral compass of Christopher Columbus, or the fortitude of presidents like Lincoln and Reagan, the truth of history should not be undercut by liberal ideology. At Phyllis Schlafly Eagles, we honor history even as we look to the future. Join us at phyllisschlafly.com. That's phyllisschlafly.com.
Welcome back, 800-951-0592. I've got a feeling it's going to be a very dovish Federal Reserve. I think Powell is going to be welcomed. And by the way, just so people know, Powell is a Republican, and I think that's probably more than anything the reason why he's going to get the nod. Janet Yellen, a Democrat, both of them are dovish, so why make the change? Because really, Maybe the only thing that's different is one's a man, one's a woman. Their policy is almost identical, right? They're both low interest rate. We'd like to see a weaker dollar type person. But the reason may have just boiled down to, hey, he's a Republican. And I don't know, but someone brought that up today, and good a reason as any. I think gold is going to be react very favorable to that, because I do believe the Federal Reserve is going to be taking a dovish stance until Powell gets into office, and they gives them some time to evaluate. Then the delay on the tax is a little concerning as well. Leads me to believe they're not going to be as generous with the wealthy people as they would like to be, which will also be a positive for gold. We had $20 gold pieces. We ran them pretty much all last week for $13.20. Gold is at the highest point it's been, sitting here right a few bucks away from $1,280. Gold's up $8, $1,278, $1,278.50. Today would be on U.S. $20 Liberties. I'll leave them at $13.20 for today at 800-951-0592. I'm telling you, they've made the risk even worse. Let me put it into perspective for you. Before the crisis hit, the debt wasn't even $10 trillion. It's now over 20. The Federal Reserve's balance sheet was about $700 billion. It's now $4.5 trillion. Throw on the ECB's balance sheet, the Bank of Japan's balance sheet, the debts in all of those countries, and you kind of understand what it is that I'm telling you. And you start to ask yourself, what is the most logical outcome? Right? We've seen in the debt markets, we've seen this trick before with the stock market. It always ends the same way. Right? When did 3% GDP, and by the way, 2 years from now, it won't be 3%. They'll have adjusted it, but neither here nor there. When did that become great? When did that become great? When did going $1 trillion, and I don't even know what the final number is going to be, 1.1, 1.2 trillion? You know, when Donald Trump took office on Inauguration Day, the debt was 19.5, 19.4. We're already at 20.5 trillion and still going, right? When did 1.23, 1.4 trillion in debt become such a good thing? And if the only economic growth we have is the growth in the debt, is that really growth at all? The only thing we don't know is when the tipping point happens. Right? That's really kind of what we don't know, right? Eric called it, right, waiting for the other shoe to drop. And we just don't know when that is, right? But the problem is when it drops, the position that we are in today is going to be considerably weaker than the position we were in 10 years ago. They told you, oh, no, we made it better. If it had been better, right, that would be less, right? Look at real disposable income. Look at the savings rate, right? The savings rate, the worst it's been since 2007, right? You know, right in line with where it was when the crash occurred. Then you look at today. We had car sales out today, right? Everybody was down except for Ford, and they're like, "Oh yeah, Ford! You know the truck, the F-150, leading the charge," and it sounded pretty good. And And it was. Their truck sales were skyrocketing. Do you know that the average price of an F-150, $47,000? I did not know that. That was per CNBC. $47,000. The cost of a truck is now more than 70% of the population makes in a year. But the thing, as I was reading the reports, Fiat Chrysler was horrific, right? So Chrysler was horrific, but Chrysler didn't ship a lot of cars to the rental cars companies. GM was down. GM wasn't great, but their shipments to rental cars was up 15%. So was Ford's. So Ford did eke out a plus number, but if the rental car number wasn't up 15%, which is a lot of cars, that number would have been negative as well. We had weekly mortgage applications fell another 2.6%. I don't even know how many weeks in a row that is that mortgage applications have fallen. But according to the Bankers Association, mortgage application is 20% lower than the same time a week ago last year. Same week, a year later, down 20%. Now, that's not all new homes, or buying homes. That's new homes and mortgage applications. Could be a refi, could be a home sale, but you're talking about a 20% decline. And so when you start really digging into this, we probably need to be thankful that we have all this debt. Because if we didn't go 1.2, 1.3, 1.4 trillion in debt at the federal level, right, GDP would be, I'm afraid of where it would be. And so now we sit here and we're watching all of these things play out, and I'm looking at who's coming in. Jay Powell's going to take over, another guy, more of the same of what we had, and we're looking at a deficit that is growing. But here's the problem. It's growing much faster than even I thought. So now you're talking about deficits in a month that used to be, even going back to the 80s, 200 billion, 250 billion, that took 3-4 years. Now it takes a month. 800-951-0592. U.S. $20 Liberties at 1,320. Rolls of U.S. Silver Eagles up $10 a roll today. They're at $410. And you really just, I don't know where a lot of the thinking is right now. I don't understand it. Because when you really look at facts, we are running a very, very dangerous game. And if you think for 1 minute they don't know it, they do. They know exactly what it is that they're doing. They just don't want you to know that they're doing it. Right? And you sit there and like today, I was watching the terrorist thing, and they're talking, he was an Uber driver. That was his job, right? Like everybody else. And come out trying to paint the picture of that's being successful. And listen, no knock on that. I've said a million times, the heroes out there are the people that are working the 2, 3, and 4 jobs just to try to get by in this country anymore. But when you start thinking about all of the things and everything, it feels like it's coming apart and at the seams and all of this, it's really simple. At least in my mind, this is a financial thing as much as, an ISIS thing or an ideological thing. Right? There's not enough good-paying jobs for people to be able to have success and be successful. There just isn't. And you know what? When that happens, you start reaching for things and looking for things, and You find the message that you like, and next thing you know, you got people mowing people down. That and, pharmaceuticals, and let's face it, there's a lot. But when you look at right now financially, I'm not talking about spiritually, I'm not talking about morally. That stuff you're on your own. If you're not getting prepared, you're making a big mistake, period. When they don't want to talk about how they win $250 billion in debt in a single month, that tells you all you need to know. When they start talking about maybe we should get rid of the debt ceiling, that tells you all you need to know. When they tell you if we don't get a tax cut, Wall Street's going to crash, that tells you all you need to know. Do you really think GDP goes up when car sales go down? Do you really think GDP goes up when home sales go down? It doesn't happen that way. No. What do they want to do? Right? They want to keep growing this debt bubble. Do you really think they're going to keep raising interest rates as the debt keeps exploding? Right? It doesn't happen that way. You know what I worry about, though, is the other side. And we've talked about it a few times. What happens when rates start rising even though they don't want them to? Right? We'll have to wait and see, but it's coming. And so when you sit there and you're thinking about what you need to do next or what's going to happen next, it's not that complicated. The states are broke. Cities are broke. The federal government's broke. Right at the same time, the largest portion of the population, the baby boomers, need to cash out. Where's the money going to come from? Who's going to buy it all? Right? What, the Federal Reserve just going to do QE, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10? Probably. Right? And then you start thinking about, you think it's by accident that they changed the laws about your IRAs and your 401ks and your money markets? Think it's by accident that all of a sudden, when we're talking about middle-class tax cuts, that 401k stuff came up? Do you think that's an accident? That's another reason why you need to get ready. They've done more to put a noose around your money in the last 24 months, 36 months, than they've done, I don't even know, in how long. You don't hear a word about it. I know a lot of you watch the billionaire channels, right? You watch the Fox and Friends and all that. I get it, you do. You're getting the message that they want you to get. But that's not the message that's real. Right? And they talk about fake news. Listen, Fox is just as fake as CNN, and all of them have somehow got some axe to grind instead of coming out, and let's just be honest with everybody. Right? How about we all start telling the truth? Right? The truth shall set you free. Not here. Listen, the truth can never be told. They didn't build a better mousetrap. What they did is they leveraged the mousetrap. And now we're kind of stuck at this point where, now what? But the tax cut's going to give you economic nirvana? It's not. Right? More corporate welfare? Look at how much corporate welfare we already gave them. Right? We took interest rates from, 5, 6, 7% to 0. That's a lot of welfare. We bailed them all out. That's a lot of welfare. We blew up the Fed's balance sheet. That's a lot of welfare. Patriot Radio News Hour. You better call the number or you're going to be on welfare. Final segment coming up. Final segment. Ask yourself. Terrorist attack in New York City. The Dow's up 50 points. That's normal. New car sales fall. Dow's up 50 points because that's normal. The big tax plan that they've all been waiting for gets delayed. The Dow's still up because that's normal. Right? We're going to have a new Fed governor, at least a nominee for a new Fed governor tomorrow, and the Dow's not worried about it because that's normal. Right there, it's so obvious. Have we become this dumbed down that we just are going to not pay attention? That you're just going to sit idly by and let it all happen without doing anything? And that's really quite honest, that's what they hope for. Right? That's why they deliberately give you misinformation. And then when you actually really start thinking about things, you're like, oh, wait a minute. That's not normal. Right? It's kind of like remember the tech bubble and anything.com and you're going to be a millionaire, right? They're trying to pull the trick again. It's not working as well. I mean, the Dow is up, yes. The volumes are a half to a third of what they used to be. And now, as they've allegedly fixed it all and we're going to have economic nirvana, they're coming out and talking about going after 401ks, and they've already put the noose on the money markets and the IRAs, and no more bailouts. We're going to do bail-ins, right, instead of actually fixing the problem to begin with. Debts have doubled. Now they're going to double again. Right? And after a while, you double down a few times too many, and what happens? One huge loss. Make sure you take the time. Protect what you need to protect. You know, the old adage of, and I've been saying it lately, listen, this is 01 all over again. Gold was $250, $260, $270, and Eric couldn't give it away, right? Well, now it's $1,280, which is the old $250, right? Take the time, put some of that money here. 800-951-0592. $20 Liberties at $13.20. One more day. $13.20. Rolls of Silver Eagles are at $410. 800-951-0592. We've hit we're already on, what is this, the third straight years of deficit rising in 2018, 2019, 2020, right? The real acceleration starts. This was still the good years. And now we're going to have a new Federal Reserve governor, new Federal Reserve chief, former current governor Jerome Powell. Looks like he's going to get the nod tomorrow. We're supposed to see a tax plan tomorrow, but we just don't know. You know, we're going to have to wait and see how all of that shakes out. And like I said, the only reason I can imagine we didn't get it today is they didn't have the votes. Take the time, put some more medals away at 800-951-0592. Everyone take care. We'll be back tomorrow.